My husband and I were exchanging rings at our wedding when my sister suddenly barged in rags. Even though my sister thinks I'm cheap for cutting up all my clothes, since I promised my sister, I'm coming to give you away in marriage anyway. My husband blamed me for poking my sister where it hurts and sent me to Venomile, my greatest fear, as punishment. I was transformed into a snake girl for the enjoyment of people with special fetishes. When my husband came to pick me up and take me home 6 months later, my whole family was impressed with how meek and reticent I was. Until I caught a mouse and excitedly swallowed it alive. My husband became furious. Venomile is no different from secluded paradise except for the many docile and non-poisonous snakes. Not just let you come over to self-cultivation for half a year. Do you have to be so angry with me? At this point strong male pheromones appeared, and I was instantly insatiable desire. My eyes unconsciously turned into slit pupils, and my body twisted into extreme curves. Husband Lucas Harrington came to pick me up on Venomile on a luxury yacht so loud that he brought all his friends and family. I was dressed in a pristine snow-white gown and appeared to the amazement of the crowd when Lucas Harrington said in a serious, quiet voice, "Emily Carter, have you reformed and changed in the last 6 months on the island? I hope you want cross Qingxue when you go back and don't let me down on you again." I spat out my tongue, curiously exploring the Lucas Harrington in front of me with a forked tongue. Finding it to be a very strange and uninteresting taste, Lucas Harrington stared at my red lips for a slight moment, then nodded in satisfaction. "I've never seen such a childish and playful side of you before, and it seems that this beautiful island has really managed to cleanse your dirty and vicious mind. I've prepared a party for you on the cruise ship to welcome you back into the family." Lucas Harrington took my hand to personally escort me up the luxurious luxury yacht. Yet he almost let go before he touched my skin. "Why are you so cold when the sun is so high on the island?" Lucas Harrington frowned. "This body temperature is not like a living person. Are you sick?" Lucas Harrington said too many words. I simply couldn't understand his instructions. Just as I stared at him in a daze, Sophia Green nervously stepped forward. "Sister has spent half a year on the island, and has long since adapted to the sun here. So of course her body temperature is different from ours." The moment I saw Sophia Green, alarm bells went off in my head and my blood instantly froze. Hiss! Hiss! I kept backing away, a warning sound coming from my throat. In the crowd's surprised and strange gaze, Sophia Green covered her face and sobbed uncontrollably. "Sister, I didn't realize that half a year has passed and you still loathe me so much, and you even hate to let me die." Lucas Harrington handily protected Sophia Green behind her, and glared at me angrily. "Emily Carter, thanks to me, I thought you had learned your lesson. But I didn't expect you to show your original form again so soon." Although Qingxue is from rural hinterlands and is just an adopted daughter sponsored by the Jiang family. But in terms of good character, she is better than you ever were. With Lucas Harrington's words, I instantly became universal condemnation. Even my own parents hated me. "What evening? The entire Jiang family will be yours in the future. Qingxue only needs a mouthful of rice to eat. Why are you so narrow-minded and unable to tolerate others?" This banquet originally organized for me has become a public hall to accuse me of my crimes. I felt the malice from all sides and crawled under the table in fear. "Emily Carter, you're so outlawed that you're scared like this. Who are you pretending to be?" Lucas Harrington puts his palms on my shoulders and tries to grab me out from under the table. Instead, he yanked off an entire patch of skin on my back that hadn't yet faded. I rubbed my back against the floor in agony and ducked deeper into the table. Lucas Harrington's pupils plummeted as if he'd been struck by lightning. He got down on the floor and locked eyes with me in spite of himself, and opened his mouth as if he had been strangled. "What happened to you? Evening. Why did you lose such a big piece of skin? Is there something wrong?" Sophia Green immediately choked and snatched her voice. "The island is full of sunshine all year round, and sister's skin is so delicate. So she must have lost her skin from the sun. It's all my fault. If it wasn't because of me, My brother-in-law wouldn't be so angry that he sent my sister to the island. Qingxue. It's not your fault. Mom painfully took Sophia Green into her arms. Even though Wu Evening is my own daughter, I can't in good conscience take sides with her. All of them are already in their 20s. The sun is very hot, won't they take shelter? I think she just knows that we're coming to the island to pick her up soon, and purposely went to the sun to act out a bitter trick. As Mom's words fell, Lucas Harrington instantly blushed. Then, despite my struggles, he grabbed me by the ankles and dragged me hard out from under the table. My freshly faded back was painfully bloody from the ground rubbing against it. Lucas Harrington, however, turned a blind eye and looked at me with a cold look of reprimand. Emily Carter, is this your bitter plan? So you are not only vicious to others, but also so cruel to yourself, compared to those vicious actions you did to Qingxue over the years, and forcing her, a little girl, to come to our wedding naked. I just sent you to an island to enjoy nature for half a year. That's not even a punishment. I ignored Lucas Harrington as my weakened body from blood loss forced me to eat as soon as possible. At that moment, a large rat ran out of the cruise ship's galley, scaring everyone by hugging them and jumping on their feet. My eyes were glazed over and I pounced on it. As Lucas Harrington and Mom and Dad looked on in amazement, I bit down on the rat and then swallowed it alive with great satisfaction. "Ah!" Mom screamed in agony. "Is this still my daughter? How is it that after living in isolation in Venom Isle for 6 months, she doesn't even have the most basic humanity left?" Lucas Harrington's whole body was almost unsteady on its feet. "Emily Carter, I know you're most afraid of snakes. But the scenery on Venom Isle is beautiful, and it's full of gentle, non-poisonous snakes. Even if you're mad at me as much as you are, you can't trash yourself by engaging in so many disgusting and harmful behaviors." No sooner had he spoken than Sophia Green fell to her knees crying and slapping herself furiously. "If it wasn't for me, my sister wouldn't be in this state today. You guys take my sister back. I'm going to spend the rest of my life on Venom Isle to take the heat off of her and atone for my sins." Mom's cries came to an abrupt end and she pointed at me and cursed. "Emily Carter, why are you such a bitch? In order to force Qingxue away, you even treated yourself like an animal. You don't even have the most basic bottom line of being a human being." Lucas Harrington's eyes were like ink, staring straight at me. He suddenly let out a light laugh that sent chills down my back. "Emily Carter, don't you like to pretend to be a snake? Then I'll catch some snakes to have a good time with you." Lucas Harrington snapped 2 fingers together and immediately someone grabbed a bag of snakes and threw them in front of me. "Emily Carter, I know you're terrified of snakes. Even the sight of a snake-shaped rope would scare you so much you couldn't move." He stared at me coldly, his eyes glittering with a transporting light. "You now immediately apologize to Qingxue and promise in public that you will never embarrass her again. Otherwise, they'll release all the snakes in the bag and let you experience what it's like to dance with snakes." Seeing my delayed response, a trace of intolerance flashed in Lucas Harrington's eyes, and then faded slightly. "Put her in the karaoke lounge with the snakes, and let her out when she admits her mistake and begs for mercy." Lucas Harrington threw me into the glass room with the bag full of snakes, one after the other, and then stood at the door with his arms wrapped around his chesty, waiting for me to scream and bow my head. At one time I was indeed afraid of snakes. And even though my body had been transformed into a snake woman bit by those people in the Venom Isle research facility, I still shivered at the sight of snakes. But then the people in the research facility, in order to domesticate me and make me completely forget that I was a human being, threw me into a snake den with thousands of snakes, where there was no food except snakes. If you want to not die of thirst and starvation, you have to devour each other by the weak and the strong. After living in the snake den for 2 months, the snakes had long since ceased to be animals to be feared in my eyes, but delicious food. Lucas Harrington's staggering steps were reflected on the glass as I opened my mouth to bite into a green snake. "Emily Carter, are you crazy? What are you doing?" Lucas Harrington doesn't realize that one mouse doesn't fill my stomach. And it was the bag of colorful snakes he sent me that was the best gift and tonic to give me. In the eyes of Lucas Harrington and Mom and Dad, I raised my head high and swallowed the wriggling snakes into my mouth. Lucas Harrington rushed into the karaoke lounge with red eyes, pulled the snakes out of my hands and threw them to the side, and then hugged me tightly. Forget about it. Yourself. Let's not make a scene, okay? I don't know why he took away my food. But in order to pull in research funds, the people at the institute transformed me into a snake girl and then made me serve some people with special fetishes for their pleasure. I knew the only way to get food to fill my stomach was to make the men happy. So I cracked my tongue in half and squatted obediently at Lucas Harrington. I tucked my sideburns behind my ear and reached for Lucas Harrington's belt. Disbelief flashed in his eyes and his voice was muffled and deep. Emily Carter, what exactly did you learn in the first half of Venom Isle? Do you even remember being the daughter of the Jiang family? Lucas Harrington grabbed my hand violently, his face filled with pain. You were as unattainable as a muse when you played the piano. How can you use these hands, which have held national piano accolades, to do something as lowly as pleasing a man? His bones were so hard that they turned white, and I drew back uncertainly the hand that Lucas Harrington had squeezed so painfully. I'd been sent by him to this Venom Isle to be transformed not only physically to someone else's liking, but even mentally to be domesticated into a snake. These hands, this mouth, and every part of my body have long since done their dirty work in order to survive. But now, he blames me for being cheap. Lucas Harrington didn't even have the courage to look me in the eye as I stared at him. He pursed his lips hard. Find out for me what exactly happened to Madam in Venom all these 6 months. While waiting, Lucas Harrington held me in his lap and wrapped my hands in his palms. Not realizing that the blood in my entire body had been replaced and I had long since turned into a cold-blooded animal that could not be muffled no matter what he did. Half an hour later, 2 men pressed the nanny who took care of me to come to us. I gave you full authority over Madam's living and living. Now shouldn't you give me an explanation? It's only been just half a year since I've seen you. How did Madam turn into this inhuman, snake-like appearance? Under Lucas Harrington's cold voice forced questioning. The nanny's body trembled more than a few times. Because ever since I boarded Venom Isle, she was bribed by Sophia Green to send me to the institute. Mr. G, spare me. I really can't say anything. The nanny folded her hands and kept kneeling and kowtowing. I've taken money from others. If I tell you, I'll die. Lucas Harrington was so tense that he even stopped breathing. With just a single eye gesture, the nanny was scared by the bodyguard and begged for forgiveness. It's Madam. She couldn't stand the loneliness of the island and got mixed up with the old snake catcher here. Ever since they've been living together, Madam's demeanor has become more and more erratic. To prove what she said, the nanny took out her cell phone and showed Lucas Harrington the video she had recorded. At the time, I still had a shred of humanity left and knew that the wedding band in my hand was something important to me. And in order to get the wedding band back, I had tossed myself to death at the behest of the old snake catcher just to please him. In the video, the old man snake catcher was so satisfied with me that he laughed out loud. Worthy of being a woman from the city, this skin plays like coiled jade. Especially this body. Now I don't have the heart to do anything else all day except play with you. Lucas Harrington's face was expressionless, but the murderous intent and pain color raging in his eyes was alarming. Are you so horny from your time on the island that you can even lay your hands on a dried-up, ugly old man? Emily Carter, were you born a slut or are you just out to get back at me? I shuddered at Lucas Harrington's continuous questioning. For I suddenly felt strong male pheromones, instantly insatiable desire, eyes unconsciously turning to slit pupils. And the male, attracted to my pheromones, was edging closer. Against all odds I rushed to the deck and plunged into the sea. Emily Carter, you're not allowed to die. Late, don't. From the deck came the terrified and agonized voices of Lucas Harrington and Mom and Dad. At this point in time, as everyone watched in horror, my body sank several times in the sea. Then it twisted into extreme curves and wrapped itself around the python's cold body. A fish gun with a curved hook shot out, violently penetrating the python's head. The lust in my heart hadn't dissipated yet, and I watched in bewilderment as the male python completely lost its life and sank into the sea without even having a chance to struggle. A loud plop sound of falling water came from behind me. Before I could react, my body was swept into a warm embrace. The force of Lucas Harrington's arms was so great that it was as if he was trying to knead me into his bones and blood. Evening. Almost I was going to lose you. So close I was going to lose you. Feeling the cold liquid dripping down on my neck, I raised my eyes to see that Lucas Harrington's reddened eyes kept having teardrops smashing down one by one. It's my fault. I shouldn't have sent you up to Venomisle. He hugged me tightly. I was so stupid to send you up to Venomisle on my own accord, knowing that you were afraid of snakes. At that time, I was so enraged that I thought Venomisle was a secluded paradise, and sending you here would be a self-cultivation and a small punishment. Even though I never opened my mouth to say a word from the beginning to the end, Lucas Harrington still chattered to himself. With all the snakes here, you must have been psychologically frightened. Otherwise, how could you possibly look at an old man that ugly and dirty? You're the one who was too scared, and as a result, I wasn't by your side. You were looking for security and belonging, and that's why you were blinded by that snake catcher. And also associated yourself as a snake through strong mental suggestion. Listening to Lucas Harrington's words, the mom and dad on the deck hugged and cried, Late, sorry. It's Mom and Dad who came late. If we hadn't been so careless and had come over earlier to check on you, maybe you wouldn't have turned out like this today. Late night. I'm sorry. It's all my fault. Lucas Harrington choked up. I don't care what has happened to you in the past. It'll be with you wherever you go from now on. Please don't think about it. Please forgive me. You are my wife. I will never leave you in this life. Evening. Give me another chance to protect you again. Okay. Under Lucas Harrington's affectionate confession, Sophia Green could no longer hold back. She pulled out a smile in a far-fetched manner, grabbed a swimming ring and threw it into the sea. Brother-in-law, the sea is too cold, and I don't know if there will still be snakes. If there's anything, you can bring your sister to the boat first. Yeah, you guys get on the boat first. Mom and Dad pushed through the crowd and walked to the escalator to greet me. Evening. Come to Mom and Dad. And in the face of their enthusiasm, I was full of wary, unimpressed eyes. My mom and dad's eyes were full of hurt, and they couldn't help but burst into tears. Evening. We are Dad and Mom. Do you not recognize Mom and Dad? Or are you blaming us in your heart? Seeing me pursing my lips and hesitating to speak, Lucas Harrington held me in his arms. Mom and Dad, don't worry. Late Night just jumped into the sea and was entangled by the python. It must be scared. They'll take Evening Night to take a bath first, and we'll talk about what's going on when she's in a better condition. The large bathtub was filled with warm water. Lucas Harrington gently held me step by step into it, but as soon as I came into contact with the higher temperature of the water, I felt uncomfortable all over. So I subconsciously wrapped my arms around his waist, unwilling to go back into the water. Late, good girl. A hot bath and relaxation will make you less tired. Lucas Harrington softly coaxed me. And I've long been light on men, instantly hearing the restraint and lust in his tone. So releasing the pheromones as well, stating that I would serve him well. Lucas Harrington suddenly shuddered, his hands clasping my shoulders hard and his eyes staring dead into my pupils. Evening. Why did your eyes turn? Green slit pupils. Through his dark eyes, I saw my snake-like demonic pupils reflected inside. Frame after frame of memories suddenly flashed through my mind, jumbled but barely pieced together. It was Lucas Harrington's birthday, and I had gone to great lengths to coax the snake catcher to be happy and get a cell phone from him. I secretly dialed Lucas Harrington's number and tried to beg him to save me. But thinking about the inhuman encounters for so many days, I was afraid that he would dislike me, and I didn't even know where to start. Cold boat. Happy birthday, I stammered before I opened my mouth to say my first sentence. Lucas Harrington spoke impatiently. What are you calling me for? You've only been here for a month and you can't take it anymore. I've had my say for a long time. I'm going to send you to Venom Isle for 6 months of reflection before I can pick you up. There's no way I'm going to go back on my word in order to do justice to Qingxue. Instead of going through all the trouble of trying to figure out how to coax me, why don't you think about where you went wrong, without waiting for me to open my mouth to say another word? Lucas Harrington simply hung up the phone and my chance of survival. I was trembling with fear and could only force myself to dial his number again. But Lucas Harrington simply blacked out the number. And the Institute had signals all over Venom Isle, and they tapped my phone and learned about my secret attempt to call Lucas Harrington for help. So they took me back to the Institute, and to punish me they cut out my tongue without anesthesia. After it was split in half and turned into a forked tongue, I was never able to speak a word again. It was this body modification that made the group of lunatics in the research lab who experienced the fun completely lose their humanity. They originally only extracted my blood to do genetic research on humans and snakes. Later on, not only did they cut out my tongue, they also remodeled my iris so that I would turn into a snake pupil when I moved. For half a year, they got together and had one idea a day, completely transforming me into the human snake monster I am today. Then they threw me into a nest of snakes to domesticate my humanity, forcing me to give up all the dignity of a human being, forgetting all propriety and shame in order to survive. At this moment, recalling every bit of the past when I was transformed, I couldn't control the trembling in my body. My throat once again issued the warning of self-preservation in the face of danger. Hiss! Hiss! It was at this moment that Lucas Harrington finally discovered my split tongue on both sides. His emotions fell apart in an instant, and teardrops once again rolled down into the bath one by one. Evening, you. Why is your tongue like this? What on earth have you been through in the 6 months you've been here? Although I recovered some memories under the stimulation of Lucas Harrington and Mom and Dad, I had long lost the function of speech and could never answer his words. Lucas Harrington scrambled to wrap me in his bathrobe and then rushed out the door with me in his arms without any thought. Go to the nearest hospital. Get a doctor for late night quickly. The captain, though not knowing what was happening, immediately rushed into the cockpit at Lucas Harrington's urgent order. I know an island medical center around here. They'll take you there now. An hour later, Lucas Harrington took me to Island Medical Center for a medical checkup. However, when I saw the familiar faces in white coats, I was instantly terrified, and my only sense of reason fell apart in a flash. I struggled violently in Lucas Harrington's arms, refusing to go near the hospital, and even more so, resisting the approach of the researchers in their doctors' white coats. Lucas Harrington sensed that something was wrong with me, and immediately narrowed his eyes dangerously as he asked the researchers, "Who the hell are you people?" Under Lucas Harrington's sharp gaze, several researchers instantly stiffened, and cold sweat broke out on their foreheads. Sophia Green immediately stepped forward. "Brother-in-law, Island Medical Center is still so far away from Venom Isle's departure, and my sister must not have seen these doctors before. Sister must have never seen these doctors before. Don't be paranoid. Let the doctor check your sister's health most importantly." Mom also chimed in at this time. "Qingxue is right. Late night has been a delicate child since she was a child. It's most afraid of going to the hospital to see a doctor, and it's also most afraid of taking medicine and injections. Evening night. Mom knows that your body and heart are not feeling well. But now is not the time to be capricious. You first behave yourself and see the doctor. If there is anything at all, let's talk about it slowly as a family behind closed doors when we get home. Okay." Listening to Mom's soft comforting voice to me, Lucas Harrington's tight jaw softened a few points. By the looks of it, it was fully believing Mom and Sophia Green's words. Be a good girl late. Well, just do some simple body checks. If it's nothing serious, I definitely won't force you to take medicine and injections. I will definitely protect you in the future. So trust me one more time. Okay. Lucas Harrington hugged me after saying that and headed inside. But a few researchers stopped him with a serious face. I'm sorry. Our hospital has rules. I'm afraid it's not very convenient for family members to accompany the patient during the examination. Upon hearing this, Lucas Harrington gave me a deep look. After hesitating for a moment, he still chose to hand me over to the researchers. Then my wife will trouble you. Her body is very wrong. It even seems like some kind of mutation has occurred. Please assess her physical condition immediately, and if her physical condition allows for a transfer, I will immediately contact a helicopter to take my wife to the best hospital in the world. I tugged at Lucas Harrington's sleeve, begging him not to let the researchers take me away. But he broke my fingers one by one. Be good late. They'll take you away when the tests are done. The researcher took me gently on the surface and carried me into the consultation room. However, when the door of the consultation room closed, they roughly threw me on the floor and completely changed their faces. Damn, that bitch Sophia Green lied to us. I didn't realize that this Emily Carter is Lucas Harrington's wife. He's one of the richest men in the country. In case the matter of transforming his wife is exposed, none of us would want to live. A few researchers looked at each other, and a ruthlessness that would not stop until the end surfaced in their eyes coincidentally. If we let Emily Carter leave here alive, all the research we've done on her will be exposed. They made up their minds almost immediately, taking out a huge syringe and slowly approaching towards me. This drug is similar to sulfur compound. It's a great tonic for people but highly poisonous for snakes. So you won't be able to find out anything even if you die. Don't blame us for being cruel to take your life. If you want to blame it on that good sister of yours, Sophia Green. If it wasn't for her spending $10 million for us to take you in for research, we would have only dared to play with snakes. We wouldn't have dared to take a living person for research. The researcher smiled sorrowfully before raising the syringe and aiming it at my temple. Just as the needle pierced my skin, the door of the clinic was suddenly kicked open with a hard kick. Faced with Lucas Harrington, whose face was grim and whose eyes were filled with murderous intent. The two researchers were so scared that they dropped their syringes on the floor, and the strange green liquid inside dripped all over the place. However, they were still talking tough. Mr. G, you're here. Your wife is in a bad situation. I'm afraid her life is in danger. We are preparing to give her treatment, but it may not be possible to salvage her. Listening to the researcher's far-fetched lie, the corner of Lucas Harrington's mouth hooked up into a bizarre arc. Are you guys preparing to treat my wife? Or are you preparing to murder my wife? Under the researcher's pale, horrified gaze, Lucas Harrington pointed to the extra pendant around my neck. I've long wanted to investigate what happened to my wife, so I installed an invisible camera on her. I'm sorry, Mr. G. I'm sorry, ma'am. The two researchers knelt down in front of us and kept kowtowing, not stopping until blood was pouring from their foreheads, no longer having that lofty air of contempt for life that they had when they first took me for research. It's all because of Sophia Green. She knew that we were doing live snake research on the island and were short of research funds. So she gave us $10 million to take her sister for research, and said that Emily Carter no longer had any family at home, so no one would care even if she died. Dad yanked Sophia Green's hair at the back of her head and slapped her in the face. You animal, you white-eyed wolf. If we hadn't been so kind as to fund your escape from the rural hinterlands, you'd have wasted your life in their being sold off to marry and have children. We gave you a new life, and this is how you repay us. Not only did you ruin our only daughter, but you cursed our whole family to death. Mom was even more enraged, her hands fiercely strangling Sophia Green's neck. You human-faced thing. Slandering what evening in front of us every day for hurting you. Then make us feel guilty about you, forcing us to centrifuge with our own daughter. You purposely went naked to ruin what Even's wedding. And you also cheated $10 million from me for moral damages. I originally wanted to use this money as your future dowry, but you ended up taking my money and almost bought my daughter's life. Sophia Green couldn't even catch her breath, yet she was still shedding tears and sophistry. No, I didn't, brother-in-law, mom and dad. I don't know anything. I didn't do anything. I don't know any of these people. And I don't know why they're helping my sister to slander me. Lucas Harrington coldly hooked up the corner of his lips. You mean, these researchers were all bought and paid for by evening, and deliberately played a bitter trick to frame you? At this, Sophia Green's eyes turned red. Brother-in-law, I don't mean that. Even if it's no longer the case, I won't suspect my own sister. In fact, I didn't suspect what my sister had gone through. After all, we could all see that something bad had happened to her. It's just that these researchers are making empty slurs against me in order to evade their responsibilities. You guys mustn't fall for their tricks, whether it's a slander or not. We'll know if we check the accounts. Lucas Harrington's ice-cold eyes fell on Sophia Green's face, not missing a single trace of her expression. After all, $10 million to move the accounts is not a small amount. Sophia Green's pupils shook, then spoke with difficulty. Brother-in-law is right. They'll go to the cruise ship to get my cell phone and call the bank for proof. Just as she left on the front foot, Lucas Harrington's bodyguard ran over, panting on the back foot. Mr. G. Sophia Green is weak-minded and escaped. Let her run. Lucas Harrington's tone was icy without a trace of arc. They'll prepare a big gift for her at sea. 3 days later, Lucas Harrington and mom and dad accompanied me to the world's top hospital for the most comprehensive physical examination. The doctors gathered for a full 3-hour meeting after reading all the results, and finally informed us to go in with heavy faces. Ms. Jiang's physical condition is very bad. Not only has her body been transformed by inhuman means, there is no longer a single drop of blood belonging to a human being in her body, and she is simply unable to keep her organs functioning for too long. After hearing this, mom and dad hugged each other and cried in pain. Evening, it was mom and dad who caused you harm. If we hadn't brought back Sophia Green, that white-eyed wolf, out of a moment of compassion, you would have had a happy family today, and wouldn't have ended up in such a miserable situation. Lucas Harrington's eyes were already red, but he forced his tears back in public. Then doctor, my wife, she really doesn't have the slightest possibility of returning to normal. All the doctors shook their heads and sighed as they listened. You still don't understand what we mean. Now let's not talk about returning to normal. Your wife's physical condition, even living for 1 more year, is a luxury. Forcibly transforming a human body into a snake's body is originally against the laws of nature. What's more, their research technology is not perfect. Your wife's current wife is like a toy with batteries. When the batteries run out, it will die forever. Despite not being able to accept the reality anymore, Lucas Harrington opened his mouth with trembling lips and asked, "Then how long does my wife have to live?" The doctors looked at each other. With our current scientific and technological means, there is no way to give you any duration or guarantee. We are already the best hospital in the world here, and even we are at our wits' end. So it's safe to say that it's impossible for any hospital to admit you for treatment. Our advice is to take your wife out for a walk and enjoy her last moments in her limited and short life. At that, Lucas Harrington stood up with a prancing sound. Ignoring the shouts of my mom and dad and the doctors, he picked me up in a crossbody and turned around and walked away. No one knew where he was going or what Lucas Harrington wanted to do. Until the cruise ship started again, Lucas Harrington brought me back to the Venom Isle research facility, where, to my surprise, the research was still going on, but the researchers had all changed. The original researchers have become research subjects. Sophia Green, who escaped and was recaptured, has been put into a glass isolation room. Her features had been changed into a snake, her nostrils had been transferred to her forehead, and her legs had been sewn together like a short and thick snake tail, which looked very strange. And Sophia Green pounced excitedly as soon as she saw me. The soundproofing of the glass isolation room was very good, but I could still read her words through her mouth. Sophia Green was begging me. She said, "Sister, please have mercy and kill me," and I just blandly averted my face, for I was neither her sister, nor could I possibly show the slightest kindness to her. Because I had long been a cold-blooded animal who had lost all feelings for my parents and husband. Even if they died in front of me, my heart would not fluctuate even a little bit. Not to mention Sophia Green. Meanwhile, on the other side of the room, those few researchers who had once used me as a study had also lost their human form, and had been thrown into the snake's nest. The harm they once inflicted on me has now been returned 100-fold, Lucas Harrington faintly spoke. When their bodies can't hold out any longer, they will be sent to the Anaconda as rations. After coming out of the research lab, Lucas Harrington took me back to the cruise ship. He held me tightly in his arms and took me on deck to look at the sea. Evening. I've pretty much avenged everything on you. Are you still satisfied with what happened to those institutes and Sophia Green? I spat out my letters and stared at the moon in the sky, feeling sleepy. Watching my upper and lower eyelids keep drooping, Lucas Harrington's voice was soft and choked. Evening. Even though we're family unions, I've loved you since the first time we met. Loved the way you played the piano. Loved your heavenly voice when you sang. It was stupid of me to think that you would change for the better after you came back from reflecting on Venom Isle. And then we'd have a good life and lots of kids. Little did I realize that it was all Sophia Green's design and plot. Lucas Harrington buried his head in my neck and sobbed uncontrollably. I should have known better. Obviously, I liked you from the first moment I saw you. I thought you had a cleanliness about you that was untouched by the world. But then, how was I blinded by Sophia Green and personally pushed you into the mire in hell? Evening. Actually, the person you should hate the most is me, right? If I didn't send you to Venom Isle, then Sophia Green wouldn't have had a chance to take advantage of it and none of this would have happened. All this time Mom and Dad and Lucas Harrington were confessing as much as they were eating 3 times a day. I've long since had my ears calloused, and am even more incapable of making the slightest ripple in my heart. What's more, I don't know why, but the temperature of my body was gradually rising, and I even felt the warmth of being a human being, which I hadn't felt for a long time. Just the more the temperature rose, the more sleepy I felt. Evening. Get some sleep. Obviously your life was a gorgeous flower, but it bloomed for a short moment and then gave out. And it's all my fault. Lucas Harrington pressed against my ear and murmured gently, when those who have hurt you all go to hell, I will come to accompany you. Evening. Wait for me. Okay. In the last moments of my life, I seemed to be human again. Even if it was only for a brief minute. A moment of sanity and emotion was restored. I slowly sat up and slowly raised my hand to pull off the wedding band on my ring finger as Lucas Harrington looked on in ecstasy and grief. Evening. You remembered all that, didn't you? You remember that this is the wedding band we made for each other with our own hands. It's important, isn't it? Listening to Lucas Harrington's excited shouts, I nodded slowly but firmly. Then in the midst of his tears of joy, I slipped the wedding band, which represented our love and marriage, back into the palm of Lucas Harrington's hand. Lucas Harrington cried and laughed, like a child who had done something wrong. Lucas Harrington was both apprehensive and aggrieved. Evening. Why did you give me back the wedding band? Are you angry? Or do you want me to put it back on for you? And without a word, I just slowly backed away, then turned around and jumped into the sea without any hesitation. Although I cannot speak, but I also want to use this decisive way to tell Lucas Harrington, after 6 months in the island without seeing the sun, I will never wait for him again.